Hello friends, Craig Ballard, the Bald Wonder, back with you here, 1/3 of the tight coverage crew. You know we've got you covered for round 2 action. The Cleveland Cavaliers and he who shall not be named, LeBron James, starting a series with your Toronto Raptors. First of all, of course, some quick housekeeping. As always, love to interact with you, love to hear from you. You can follow us, our social media platforms, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, at tight_coverage. You're currently watching this video on our YouTube page, so certainly want to thank you for that. And if you are so inclined and would be so kind, please do hit that like. Please do hit that subscribe and share Tight Coverage's work as well. You know, we would really appreciate that. Speaking of the Tight Coverage crew, who's going to be joining us to discuss this series preview?
It's your boy Dre for Tight Coverage, and I'm here to talk to you about the second round matchup between the Toronto Raptors and the Cleveland Cavaliers, or the LeBrons and the Bronettes and the Brons, whatever you want to call their bench.
Greetings, salutations, how you doing? What's happening, everybody? My name is Michael Pope, and I am 1/3 of that Tight Coverage crew.
Great to see the usual cast of characters, the Tight Coverage crew, here for our round 2 preview. Let's go ahead and get started. For me, folks, if you recall the round 1, the Toronto-Washington preview, I had heavy emphasis on the perimeter. In particular, how do the Toronto Raptors defend the perimeter against that particular opponent, the Washington Wizards? Same scenario applies for me here in round 2. In fact, it's ratcheted up another notch. That Washington Wizard team, the reason we had such emphasis on that in round 1 is the Wizards and Raptors split 4 games, winning 2 each this season, and it was very pronounced. The three-point shooting was very pronounced. On the 2 games that the Raptors won, the Raptors did a very good job, as Mike Pope will tell you, chasing those three-point shooters off of the line, having hands in their face, very quick and very crisp with the rotations, getting out to those shooters. In the 2 losses that the Raptors had, in the 2 games that were the Wizards won, quite the opposite story. Raptors very slow in the rotations, getting to the shooters, a lot of open 3 balls, and the Wizards really made them pay. And if you look at that playoff series that the Raptors just won against the Wizards, in the 4 Raptor wins, they held Washington to under, in the low 30% anyway, from three-point shooting from downtown. In the 2 losses, Washington shot north of 40%, and that was very indicative of what we saw from this Raptor team down the stretch. The last 5 or 6 weeks or so, any team that was able to shoot north of 40% from downtown was beating the Raptors. And when the Raptors were minding their P's and Q's on the defense, on the perimeter, on the rotations, then the Raptors were in fact winning those games and holding that team in the 30% range. This Washington Wizard team is going to shoot in the low 20s as far as three-point attempts against you every single game. This Cleveland Cavalier team, quite different, folks. It'll be almost double that. The Cavs, every single game we see in this series, Cleveland will attempt anywhere from 30 to 40, maybe even 1 or 2 games in the 40s amount of three-pointers. That's a strategy here. These guys are going to look to chuck. Even if you look at the Game 7 that Cleveland just survived with the Indiana Pacers, anytime the Cavs had any sort of issue, anytime the Pacers were charging, in fact, even at one point in the 3rd quarter where the Pacers took a 3-point lead, their largest of the game, what did we see Cleveland rely on? That 3-ball. They started raining 3 balls. Kevin Love with massive 3rd and 4th quarter 3 balls. LeBron James with massive 3rd and 4th quarter 3 balls. Even J.R. Smith was getting into the act. And George Hill, now he wasn't knocking down 3-pointers, sure, but he was getting fouled shooting 3-pointers and going to the line a few times to shoot those 3 foul shots. So the Cleveland Cavaliers absolutely look to the 3-ball to get them out of trouble. And if you're talking about the Cleveland Cavaliers and the 3-ball, then let's talk about the usual suspects. J.R. Smith, there certainly was a time when J.R. Smith shot the ball extremely well at the Air Canada Centre. That hasn't been the case for the last few seasons, so Raptor fans, hopefully that will continue. I can tell you as a Laker fan that Jordan Clarkson does not play well at the ACC, certainly doesn't shoot well from downtown there. And I can also tell you that Rodney Hood has not had a lot of success at the Air Canada Centre. Only 2 games there, but 2 very un-Rodney Hood-like games. So I don't know if those will be the ones getting them going, but well, we know Kyle Korver is a historic 3-point shooter. We know George Hill has had very good games at the Air Canada Centre in the past, and Kevin Love has had very good games at the Air Canada Centre in the past.
Like my boy Craig was telling you, when Kevin Love has good games, the Raptors usually lose to Cleveland. It's I don't get it. I don't understand it, but it's that one guy, that shooting big man who can also grab rebounds, like Mike Scott in Washington. It's that type of scenario. But Kevin Love has been Raptor kryptonite for so long. We know what LeBron does. LeBron does what LeBron does. He LeBrons. It's simple as that. He LeBrons. Okay, so we get it. And he has been LeBron in the whole playoff, so we know what's coming. But shut down the other players. Shut down the J.R. Smiths, all that. But particularly shut down Kevin Love. That dude is a problem when he's playing well.
One thing we saw a lot in this Indiana series was the Cavs moving LeBron to the point guard spot. Now, some of that was out of necessity. George Hill's banged up a little bit, but I think they really liked what they saw there. LeBron, one of the all-time great facilitators in the history of basketball. I've always said one of the things I appreciate most about LeBron James, he is obsessed with doing the right thing with the basketball. If that means creating for himself, we know how skilled he is, we know he can do that. But if that means creating for a teammate, he's about as good as it gets when it comes to that. So absolutely the Raptors will have to be cognizant of that. We'll have to be very aware that he wants to drive, attract that double team so he can kick to the open shooter. Dwayne Casey and his coaching staff have their hands full figuring out how do we bring the double on LeBron when he does drive, when he does penetrate, without sacrificing our defense for the shooters on the perimeter. I would say that this was already true. It's particularly true now. If you saw this Indiana series, then you saw LeBron James, especially in the first half of these games, pretty much all 7 games in this Indiana series, LeBron was in attack mode. Very, very impressive for somebody with the wear and tear that he's had on his body, in particular the last few years. Very impressive to see how aggressive he is in attacking that paint. I will absolutely look for that to continue in this series, in the Raptors series. If we're being honest, there's not a lot of consequences at the rim for the Toronto Raptors, so I can absolutely see LeBron being very, very, very aggressive. The key, again, for Dwayne Casey and his coaching staff is going to be how do we recognize that from LeBron, and how do we recognize that there are a lot of times where he is driving specifically looking to attract that double team. He's looking to bring Serge Ibaka over. He's looking to bring Jonas Valanciunas. He's looking to bring somebody who's guarding Kevin Love in that moment over so that Love has an open look. That's going to leave the rest of the guys on the floor scrambling to catch up, to get a hand in Kevin Love's face. Absolutely going to be paramount in this series, folks.
The main thing is that the Raptors need to believe that they can beat Cleveland. We know they can beat Cleveland. Cleveland probably knows that they can beat Cleveland too, but it's up to Toronto to know and believe it. I mean, this is the thing. This team is so good that whenever teams have come into the ACC or they've gone out to play other teams throughout the year, when the team comes and they make their run, their dreaded push, and they punch the Raptors in the face, it's a wake-up call. The Raptors take the punch, blow, and they wake up. And then they play that Raptor style of basketball, moving it, pushing it, defense, ferociousness, and the Raptors always win. But for some reason, whenever Toronto plays Cleveland, that's when that punch actually hurts. That's when that punch is more like a snuff, like a you weren't looking, blow, when you're dropping. That is the problem. And for only one reason and one reason only, because LeBron James. Whatever it is, they need to understand that they just need to trust what they do. When the punch comes, take the punch and say, okay, I'm awake, I'm alert now, I'm ready for you. And just fight back. They're a better team. They should win if they do that.
I've said this all along when it comes to the Raptors. The Raptors need to take care of the little things. Those little things are actually huge things. A couple of things, 3 things, key things, I believe. Number 1 being taking care of the ball. No turnovers. Every possession is a valued possession. Every pass has to be where you want it to be. It has to get to the destination you want it to get to. The Cavs are a team that are incredibly strong. Take advantage of the fact that of every mistake that you can. Their transition from defense to offense is a scary thing. Trying to stop LeBron on a fast break off of a turnover, there's no team in this league, no player that can physically actually stop that steam engine coming down straight at you. It normally results in an and one. At very least, it results in free throws. Something else that I believe the Raptors fall victim of often, and they need to clean up, is controlling those defensive rebounds. They need to understand that when that ball goes up, everybody needs to feel somebody on their backside or their hip and secure that rebound before that fast break. Now, the Cavs have an incredibly busybody player by the name of Tristan Thompson that loves to hustle. He's responsible for a lot of the intangibles. He's responsible for a lot of the hustle points, as well as a Kevin Love on the offensive boards. This dude is incredible. He gives his squad, both those players, give their squad second, third, sometimes 4 chances at that basket. The Raptors have worked really hard on securing home court advantage. It's like having another 6 men on that court. When Air Canada Center is on, It is on. It is one of the toughest gyms to play at. I'm pretty sure my friend Craig Ballard can throw down some of the stats, some of the players that struggle in ACC. So we need our fans. We need the energy up. We need that six men. The Raptors need that to become victory. So taking care of the ball, securing the rebounds, and keeping the energy up in the gym. Keeping our six men, which is ACC and the crowd, involved. Positive that's been in favor for the Raptors is the return of Fred VanVleet. Wouldn't you say, Andre Nurse?
The secret weapon that we unleashed on Washington in game number 6. His name is Fred VanVleet. Like my man Mike just told y'all about. Fred VanVleet is a different breed of point guard. Yes, he's young, but he's a point guard. He's a backup point guard who could be a starter on any team. We saw what happened to Toronto without VanVleet against Washington. Toronto got outplayed by their second unit, and that does not happen to the Raptors on a regular basis. As soon as VanVleet came back, Pascal Siakam started looking like the second coming of Sean Kemp in his prime. Jakob Poeltl just started looking like a dominant rebounder again, defensive player. As soon as VanVleet got back, it was a whole different situation.
Yes. Huge, man. Huge. With Fred VanVleet running that bench mob, that second unit, there's a sense of calm. There's that steady Freddy aspect to things, and the production value that he brings, incredible. Agreed. All around, Dre.
Great stuff, guys. Pope, certainly agree with where you went there with the ACC, the importance of these home games, in particular 1 and 2 for the Raptors, as Cleveland has been a particular house of horrors over the years, in particular in the playoffs for Toronto. Andre, love where you went with the response to being punched in the mouth. It feels like 80 out of 82 times that happened. The only 2 times were the 2 games at Cleveland this year where the Raptors did not have a good response to being punched in the mouth. But I guess the glass half full is they're coming off a series where they certainly took a hit in Games 3 and Games 4, but a big-time, fantastic, and impressive response in Game 5 and 6, in particular Game 6, where the Toronto Raptors were able to close out the series on the road. When was the last time you saw that from a Raptor team? Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Enjoy the series. Tight _ coverage.